Welcome to IELTS CELPIP MasterPrep, your trusted source for real exam-based practice tests. Every test you see here is inspired by current exam trends, and each one comes with full model solutions to help you master every section. Here's our daily schedule. IELTS tests drop every morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern, and CLP tests every evening at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. No matter which exam you're preparing for, we've got you covered every single day. Are you ready for today's test? Give it your best shot and comment your score. The top 5 scorers will be featured in our monthly Achievers newsletter and awards. Want your name included? Let's begin.
What advice would you give this newcomer to help them improve their English quickly while living in Canada? Begin speaking now.
Hi, welcome to Canada. I think the best way to improve your English is to practice every day. First, you should try to speak English with your neighbors and coworkers. Also, you can join free English classes at the library. Many cities in Canada have programs for newcomers that are really helpful. Another good idea is to watch Canadian TV shows and listen to local radio stations. You should also try to read English newspapers. If you do these things every day, your English will get better very quickly. Good luck with everything.
Welcome to Canada. I'd love to share some strategies that really work for improving English quickly. First and foremost, I'd recommend enrolling in a LINK program, which stands for Language Instruction for Newcomers to Canada. These federally funded classes are completely free and designed specifically for immigrants. Beyond formal classes, I'd strongly suggest immersing yourself in English daily. For instance, volunteer at a local community center, join a sports league, or attend neighborhood events where you'll naturally interact with English speakers. Additionally, consider downloading language apps and listening to Canadian podcasts during your commute. Setting small daily goals, like learning 5 new words or having one conversation with a stranger, can make a tremendous difference over time.
Welcome to Canada. Improving your English rapidly requires a multifaceted approach that balances structured learning with authentic immersion. I'd wholeheartedly recommend registering for a LINK program through Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, as these courses are tailored to newcomers and offered at no cost. However, classroom instruction alone won't suffice. You'll want to deliberately cultivate an English-rich environment by volunteering with organizations like Habitat for Humanity or joining recreational leagues through your municipal parks and recreation department. These experiences expose you to colloquial Canadian English, including regional expressions and cultural nuances that textbooks simply cannot replicate. Furthermore, I'd suggest maintaining a vocabulary journal and consuming Canadian media. CBC Radio, for example, offers excellent programming. Perhaps most importantly, don't shy away from making mistakes. Canadians are generally incredibly patient and supportive of newcomers practicing their language skills.
How would you respond to this person who is resistant to your advice about improving their English in Canada? Begin speaking now.
I understand you want to learn on your own, and that's okay. But I think using only your phone is not enough. When you talk to real people, you learn faster because you practice listening and speaking at the same time. Classes are also very helpful because the teachers know what newcomers need. Maybe you can try one free class at the library and see if you like it. You don't have to go every day. Also, talking to Canadians will help you understand the culture better. I just want to help you, so please think about it.
I completely respect your independence, and I understand that learning with your phone feels comfortable and convenient. However, I'd gently point out that language apps have significant limitations. They're excellent for building vocabulary, but they can't replicate the unpredictability of real conversations. When you interact with Canadians face-to-face, you learn pronunciation, slang, and cultural references that no app can teach you. What concerns me is that avoiding English-speaking environments might actually slow your progress considerably. How about a compromise? You could continue using your phone apps while attending just one conversation circle per week at the local settlement agency. There's absolutely no pressure, and you might genuinely enjoy meeting other newcomers who share your experience. I truly believe combining both approaches would accelerate your improvement dramatically.
I genuinely appreciate your confidence in self-directed learning, and I wouldn't dream of dismissing the value of language apps. They've come remarkably far. That said, I feel compelled to share something I've observed among newcomers here in Canada. Those who rely exclusively on digital tools often plateau fairly quickly because they're missing the spontaneous, messy reality of authentic conversation. Consider this: when you order coffee at Tim Hortons or chat with a neighbor about the weather, you're navigating accent variations, idiomatic expressions, and cultural subtleties that algorithms simply cannot simulate. I'm not suggesting you abandon your preferred method at all. Rather, I'm proposing you supplement it strategically. Settlement agencies across Canada offer informal conversation circles that are specifically designed for people in your situation. They're welcoming, low pressure, and remarkably effective. What if you committed to attending just one session as an experiment? If it doesn't resonate with you, I'll respect that entirely. Ultimately, I want you to succeed on your own terms, and I believe a blended approach would serve you exceptionally well.
Describe what you see happening in this street market scene in as much detail as possible. Begin speaking now.
In this picture, I can see a busy street market on a sunny day. There are many people walking around and looking at different things. On the left side, there are vendors selling fresh fruits and vegetables. I can see tomatoes, apples, and corn on the tables. On the right side, a woman is selling handmade jewelry and crafts. In the middle, some children are watching a man playing guitar. The people look happy and relaxed. Some shoppers are carrying bags full of things they bought. It looks like a really fun place to visit on the weekend.
This scene captures a vibrant neighborhood street market on what appears to be a beautiful Saturday morning. In the foreground, several wooden vendor stalls are lined up along the street, displaying colorful arrangements of locally grown produce. I can see baskets overflowing with strawberries, bunches of leafy greens, and stacks of bright orange squash. To the left, an elderly couple is carefully selecting vegetables while chatting with the farmer behind the stall. Toward the center of the scene, a young street performer is entertaining a small crowd with an acoustic guitar, and a few children are dancing along enthusiastically. On the right side, a craftswoman is demonstrating how she makes pottery, and several shoppers have gathered to watch. The overall atmosphere feels warm, community-oriented, and quintessentially Canadian.
This captivating scene depicts a thriving neighborhood street market that truly embodies the spirit of Canadian community life. Bathed in warm morning sunlight, the market stretches along a tree-lined residential street, with dozens of canvas-topped vendor stalls creating a colorful corridor of commerce. In the immediate foreground, a produce vendor proudly displays an impressive array of locally sourced fruits and vegetables, vibrant red strawberries, deep purple eggplants, and freshly harvested herbs that one can almost smell through the image. An elderly gentleman in a plaid flannel shirt appears to be haggling good-naturedly with the vendor, both of them smiling broadly. Moving deeper into the scene, a talented street musician has drawn a semicircle of enchanted onlookers, including several young families with children perched on their parents' shoulders. To the far right, an artisan's booth showcases exquisite handcrafted pottery and indigenous-inspired jewelry, attracting a diverse group of admirers. The entire atmosphere radiates warmth, multiculturalism, and the unmistakable charm of a Canadian community coming together to celebrate local talent and craftsmanship.
What do you predict will happen to fuel stations and mechanics in Canada as electric vehicles become more common, and why? Begin speaking now.
I think electric vehicles will change a lot of things in Canada. First, I predict that many gas stations will close because fewer people will need gasoline. Some gas stations might add electric chargers so they can stay open. Also, mechanics will need to learn new skills because electric cars are very different from regular cars. They have batteries instead of engines, so the repairs are different. I think some mechanics might lose their jobs if they don't learn these new skills. However, it will take many years for this to happen completely. Overall, I believe Canada will change a lot because of electric vehicles.
I believe the rise of electric vehicles will fundamentally transform Canada's automotive landscape over the coming decade. Regarding fuel stations, I predict we'll witness a gradual but significant decline in traditional gas stations, particularly in urban centers like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal where EV adoption rates are highest. Many station owners will likely pivot their business models by installing fast-charging stations alongside convenience stores and coffee shops, essentially reimagining the refueling experience. As for mechanics, the transition will be equally profound. Electric vehicles require substantially less routine maintenance. There are no oil changes, fewer brake replacements, and no transmission repairs. Consequently, many independent mechanics will need to invest in specialized training and expensive diagnostic equipment. I anticipate that dealership service centers will initially dominate EV repairs, while smaller shops that adapt quickly will carve out valuable niches in the evolving market.
The accelerating adoption of electric vehicles in Canada will inevitably trigger a sweeping transformation across the automotive service industry, and I predict the effects will be both disruptive and ultimately constructive. Traditional fuel stations, which have already been consolidating for decades, will face an existential reckoning. I envision a bifurcated outcome. Urban stations in cities like Calgary and Ottawa will increasingly convert into multi-purpose charging hubs featuring lounges, retail spaces, and rapid chargers capable of delivering substantial range in under 20 minutes. Rural and highway stations, however, will likely maintain gasoline pumps far longer, serving agricultural equipment and long-haul transport while gradually integrating charging infrastructure. The implications for auto mechanics are equally consequential. Electric vehicles contain dramatically fewer moving parts, roughly 20 compared to a combustion engine's 2,000, which means traditional maintenance revenue streams like oil changes, exhaust repairs, and transmission work will progressively evaporate. Forward-thinking mechanics will pursue certification in high-voltage battery systems and software diagnostics, positioning themselves for a lucrative emerging market. I predict that within 15 years, Canada's automotive service sector will be virtually unrecognizable, yet those professionals and businesses that embrace the transition proactively will thrive in this electrified future.
Compare the two job offers and persuade your sister which one she should accept and why. Begin speaking now.
I think you should take the bank job in Toronto. First, it's a big company, so you'll have better job security and benefits like a pension and dental coverage. The startup sounds exciting, but small companies can be risky. Also, working in an office downtown means you can meet people and grow your network. Working from home can be lonely sometimes. The salary at the bank is probably more stable too. I know the commute might be long, but Toronto has good public transit. Overall, the bank job is the safer and smarter choice for your career right now.
I'd strongly recommend that you accept the marketing coordinator position at the bank. Let me explain why. To begin with, established financial institutions in Canada offer exceptional benefits packages, including health coverage, retirement plans, and professional development funding. The startup role may seem appealing because of remote work flexibility, but startups often lack long-term stability. Furthermore, being physically present in a Toronto office gives you invaluable networking opportunities that could shape your entire career. While the Waterloo startup offers convenience, the bank provides a structured career path with clear advancement opportunities. Considering you're early in your career, building a solid foundation at a reputable company would serve you far better in the long run.
I've given this considerable thought, and I'm thoroughly convinced you should pursue the marketing coordinator role at the bank in Toronto. Here's my reasoning. First and foremost, Canada's financial sector is remarkably resilient, meaning your position would come with unparalleled job security alongside comprehensive benefits, everything from extended health coverage to an employer-matched pension plan. By contrast, while the Waterloo startup's remote arrangement is undeniably attractive, the reality is that startups face significantly higher failure rates, which could leave you job hunting again within a year. Additionally, immersing yourself in Toronto's professional landscape would expose you to mentorship and collaboration opportunities that simply cannot be replicated through virtual meetings. I'd also point out that the bank likely offers tuition reimbursement, so you could continue developing your skills. Ultimately, the startup offers short-term comfort, whereas the bank offers a genuinely transformative long-term career trajectory.
What would you do and say to deal with this difficult situation? Begin speaking now.
I would feel upset, but I would try to stay calm. First, I'd talk to Marcus privately after the meeting. I'd say something like, "Hey Marcus, I noticed you presented my ideas without mentioning me. I worked hard on that proposal, and I think it's fair to share the credit." If he doesn't agree, I would talk to my manager. I'd bring my original documents and emails to show that the ideas were mine. I think it's important to be professional and not make a big scene at work.
This is definitely a frustrating situation, but I'd handle it carefully to maintain professionalism. My first step would be to arrange a private conversation with Marcus, perhaps over coffee in the break room. I'd calmly explain that I was disappointed he presented my proposal without acknowledging my contribution. I might say, Marcus, I value our working relationship, but I need us to be transparent about who contributed what. If he's dismissive or defensive, I'd escalate the matter to my manager by scheduling a one-on-one meeting. I'd bring supporting evidence such as draft emails, document timestamps, and any messages we exchanged during development. Moving forward, I'd also make sure to document my contributions more formally to prevent this from recurring.
I'd approach this delicate situation with a combination of assertiveness and diplomacy to protect both my professional reputation and the team dynamic. Initially, I'd request a private conversation with Marcus in a neutral setting, perhaps one of the meeting rooms, where I'd express my concerns without being confrontational. I might say, Marcus, I genuinely respect your work, but I was quite taken aback when the proposal I developed was presented as solely your contribution. I believe collaboration thrives on mutual recognition. I'd give him the opportunity to explain, as there may have been a misunderstanding. However, if he refuses to acknowledge my role, I wouldn't hesitate to bring the matter to our manager's attention. I'd prepare a concise summary of my involvement, supported by original drafts, version histories, and relevant Slack messages. Beyond resolving this immediate issue, I'd propose that our team implement a clearer attribution process for collaborative projects, ensuring that everyone receives appropriate credit going forward.
Do you think post-secondary education in Canada should be free? What is your opinion and why? Begin speaking now.
In my opinion, post-secondary education in Canada should be free. Many young Canadians cannot afford university tuition, and they end up with huge student debt. If education were free, more people could get degrees and find better jobs. This would be good for the whole economy. Some people say taxes would go up too much, but I think investing in education is worth it. Countries like Germany already offer free university, and it works well. Everyone deserves a chance to learn, no matter how much money their family has.
I firmly believe that post-secondary education in Canada should be free for citizens and permanent residents. There are several compelling reasons for this position. First, student debt has become a crisis in this country, with many graduates owing tens of thousands of dollars before they even begin their careers. Eliminating tuition fees would level the playing field and ensure that financial barriers don't prevent talented individuals from pursuing higher education. Second, a more educated workforce would strengthen Canada's economy and global competitiveness. Critics argue that increased taxation is too high a price, but I'd counter that the long-term economic returns, higher earning potential, greater innovation, and reduced social inequality far outweigh the initial costs. Ultimately, accessible education is an investment in Canada's future prosperity.
I wholeheartedly support making post-secondary education free in Canada, and I believe the evidence overwhelmingly favors this policy shift. To begin with, the current system perpetuates socioeconomic inequality. Students from lower-income families are disproportionately discouraged from attending university, not because they lack ability, but because they cannot shoulder the financial burden. Removing tuition fees would democratize access and allow merit, rather than wealth, to determine educational outcomes. Furthermore, from a macroeconomic perspective, a highly educated population drives innovation, attracts foreign investment, and generates substantially higher tax revenues over time, effectively offsetting the initial expenditure. While opponents raise valid concerns about the sustainability of funding through taxation, Nordic countries like Norway and Finland have demonstrated that free education models are both viable and enormously beneficial to society. I would also argue that reducing student debt would stimulate consumer spending, as graduates would have disposable income to invest in housing and local businesses rather than servicing loans. In essence, free post-secondary education isn't merely an expense, it's a transformative national investment.
Describe what is happening and what you see, hear, and experience during this unusual event. Begin speaking now.
I can't believe what's happening on my street right now. There are bright lights, big cameras, and cables everywhere on the sidewalk. I can see Ryan Reynolds standing near the coffee shop, and he's wearing a funny costume. There are security guards keeping people back, and a huge crowd is taking photos with their phones. Kids from the neighborhood are so excited and yelling his name. The director keeps shouting instructions through a megaphone. It's really noisy and chaotic, but everyone seems happy. This is definitely the most exciting thing that has ever happened in our little town.
This is absolutely surreal. I've stepped out for my usual Saturday morning walk only to discover that my quiet little street has been completely transformed into a movie set. There are enormous lighting rigs positioned along the road, thick cables snaking across the pavement, and production trailers parked where neighbors usually leave their cars. Right in front of the local coffee shop, I can see Ryan Reynolds rehearsing a scene with another actor. A crowd of at least 100 people has gathered behind the barricades, and everyone is buzzing with excitement. Children are perched on their parents' shoulders, waving and calling out his name. The air is filled with the hum of generators and the crackle of walkie-talkies as crew members rush around adjusting equipment. It's extraordinary to see such a production unfold in our ordinarily sleepy neighborhood.
What I'm witnessing right now is utterly extraordinary. My typically tranquil neighborhood has been thrust into the spotlight, quite literally, as an entire Hollywood-caliber film production has descended upon our modest Canadian street. Enormous cranes support professional lighting rigs that cast a brilliant glow over the intersection, while thick bundles of cables stretch across driveways and sidewalks like a sprawling web. At the epicenter of all this commotion stands none other than Ryan Reynolds himself, casually chatting with the director between takes just meters from the bakery where I buy my morning croissant. The atmosphere is electric. Neighbors who've lived here for decades are lined up behind metal barricades, smartphones raised, their faces a mixture of disbelief and pure delight. Children are squealing with excitement, elderly couples are whispering to each other in amazement, and a group of teenagers is live streaming the entire spectacle. The soundscape is equally remarkable, generators humming, walkie-talkies crackling with urgent instructions, and the periodic call of "quiet on set," momentarily silencing the entire crowd. It's a once-in-a-lifetime scene unfolding in the most unlikely of places.
Before you go, don't forget to like this video, share it with other test takers, and subscribe so you never miss your daily IELTS and CELPIP tests. Drop your score in the comments. Your name could be featured in our monthly Achievers newsletter. Stay consistent, stay focused, and keep leveling up with MasterPrep.